Dr. Emily Barrett hadn't slept in 36 hours when humanity's first contact with alien life came screaming through Earth's upper atmosphere. She was alone in her quantum observatory on Mauna Kea, running another failed simulation, when her instruments lit up like Christmas trees. "That can't be right," she muttered, adjusting her thick-rimmed glasses. The readings showed two objects moving at impossible speeds, their trajectory taking them straight toward Earth's defense grid. Her coffee cup slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor as she realized what she was seeing. The objects weren't meteors. They were ships. Her hands flew across the holographic interface, sending emergency alerts to Earth Defense Command. "This is Dr. Barrett at Mauna Kea Observatory. We have two unidentified vessels on collision course with defense platforms. Someone please respond." The larger ship was pursuing the smaller one, energy signatures pulsing in patterns that defied known physics. As they dropped lower into the atmosphere, their hulls began to glow from the friction. Emily's quantum instruments detected bizarre fluctuations in space-time around both vessels, technology far beyond anything humanity had achieved. "Dr. Barrett, this is General Richards at EDC. Are you absolutely certain these are vessels?" "Positive, sir. And if they maintain their current course, they'll trigger our automated defense systems in 3 minutes. Given their energy readings, that interaction could devastate the entire Pacific region." There was a pause on the line. Options. Emily's mind raced. The experimental quantum field generator she'd been testing for the past year sat humming in the corner. It had failed every simulation, but theory suggested it could create a localized bubble of altered spacetime. "I have an idea, sir, but it's untested. Permission to attempt emergency intervention. The President has been notified. You have full authorization. God help us all." Emily's fingers danced across the controls, redirecting power to the quantum generator. The pursuing vessel fired what appeared to be energy weapons at the smaller ship, missing and carving glowing streaks through the atmosphere. Warnings blared as Earth's defense platforms began tracking the intruders. Come on," Emily whispered, making final adjustments. The generator whined as it spun up to full power. According to her calculations, this would either create a quantum barrier that would safely deflect both ships or tear a hole in reality. Either way, it was better than the alternative. The ships were now visible through her observatory's dome. Sleek, otherworldly shapes of impossible metal. Earth's defense platforms fired their first warning shots. Emily hit the activation sequence. A sphere of distorted spacetime erupted from the generator, expanding outward faster than light. The alien vessels hit it simultaneously. Instead of destroying them, the quantum field caught them like insects in amber. Their momentum bled away as local spacetime stretched and warped around them, bringing both ships to a gentle stop midair. Emily stared in shock. It had worked. Not only had it worked, but it had worked better than any of her simulations had suggested possible. The quantum field was holding stable, something she'd never achieved in testing. Within minutes, Earth defense ships surrounded the suspended alien vessels. As the quantum field dissipated, both ships were caught in tractor beams. Emily watched as teams in hazmat suits approached the larger vessel first. Its hull split open like a blooming flower, revealing tall, ethereal beings that moved with impossible grace. They were representatives of the Galactic Council, they explained later. They'd been pursuing a notorious smuggler when their chase brought them to this primitive system. Instead, they'd found a civilization that had not only colonized their solar system, but had developed unique approaches to quantum mechanics that the Council had never considered. That night, as Emily sat in a debriefing room surrounded by generals and politicians, one of the Council members approached her. Its translucent skin shimmed with bioluminescent patterns. "Your solution," it said through a translator, "was elegant in its simplicity. We have grown perhaps too reliant on our ancient technologies. This is the first time in 10,000 years that we have seen something truly new." Emily managed a tired smile. Sometimes the best solutions come from having to work with limited resources. The alien's skin pulsed with colors she suspected indicated agreement. Perhaps it said, "We have much to learn from each other." "That's impossible." High Architect Zextal's crystalline appendages flickered with patterns of disbelief. "The equations clearly show." "The equations show what should happen," Dr. Jack Morrison interrupted, wiping engine grease from his hands. "But this is what actually happens." They stood in his cluttered workshop at the New Mexico Space Development Center, surrounded by parts that would look more at home in a junkyard than a cutting-edge research facility. The prototype engine sat on the test bench, humming with a sound that made the High Architect's sensory crystals vibrate uncomfortably. "Your design violates 3 fundamental laws of quantum mechanics," Zextal insisted. "It cannot work." Jack grinned and flipped a switch. The engine's hum deepened, and a holographic display showed energy patterns that, according to the Council's physics, should have torn the device apart. Instead, it purred like a well-tuned machine. "Maybe," Jack suggested, "your laws need updating." The past 3 months had been a crash course in galactic physics for humanity. After first contact, the Council had graciously shared their basic scientific texts, likely expecting humans to spend decades catching up. Instead, Earth's scientists had torn into them like hungry wolves, finding assumptions that had gone unchallenged for millennia. "Watch this," Jack said, making a minor adjustment. The engine's energy signature shifted, becoming even more efficient. "We found that if you introduce a controlled chaos element here, what we call the butterfly circuit, it actually stabilizes the quantum fluctuations instead of amplifying them." Zextal's crystalline form shimmered with what Jack had learned was their equivalent of a headache, but that contradicts the axioms of Velfor. "Good." Jack tossed a wrench from hand to hand. "Those axioms have been holding you back. You've been treating them like gospel instead of guidelines." The High Architect moved closer to the engine, their sensors extending to analyze it. "Your species, you approach technology like children playing with fire. You have no respect for established principles." "That's because we had to figure everything out from scratch," Jack replied. "We couldn't just copy ancient blueprints. We had to understand why things work, not just how." A soft alarm chimed, and both turned to watch the energy efficiency readings climb even higher. Jack had dubbed it the Morrison Drive, though in his head, he called it the Why Not engine. Every time the Council said something was impossible, he'd asked why not, and then tried it anyway. "Remarkable," Zextal admitted finally. "Dangerous and unorthodox, but remarkable. The Council will need to review this." Jack knew what that meant. Review could take years, decades even, but Earth wasn't waiting. Already, prototype engines were being installed in the new fleet of exploration vessels. Humanity had spent too long earthbound to wait for permission to reach for the stars. "You know what the real breakthrough was?" Jack gestured to a picture on his cluttered desk, his daughter playing with building blocks. Watching her play. Kids don't know what's impossible, so they try everything. The moment you stop telling yourself something can't work, you start finding ways to make it work. Zextal's crystals pulsed with unexpected patterns. "You truly believe your improvisations are better than our refined technologies." "Not better," Jack corrected, powering down the prototype. "Different. We're not trying to compete with your tech. We're trying to find new ways forward. Maybe together, we can build something greater than either of us could alone." The High Architect was quiet for a long moment, their crystalline form reflecting the workshop's harsh lights. Finally, they spoke. "The Council fears what we do not understand. And your species, Dr. Morrison, is very difficult to understand." Jack smiled, remembering Emily Barrett's quantum field that had so shocked the Council 3 months ago. "Good," he said. "Understanding everything is overrated. It's the things we don't understand that push us to grow." Outside his workshop window, the first stars were becoming visible in the darkening sky. Somewhere up there, Humanity's first faster-than-light capable ships were being constructed, incorporating both Council technology and human innovation. They would launch soon, ready or not. Because that's what humans did. They leaped into the unknown, trusting they'd find their wings on the way down. Admiral Diane Reeves stood on the bridge of the U.S. Artemis, watching the holographic display of yet another merchant vessel being torn apart by pirates. The crew had escaped in pods, but the cargo, medical supplies bound for Mars colony, was gone. It was the third raid this week. Their shield technology is still superior, her XO, Commander Rodriguez, reported. But we found something interesting in the debris analysis. Diane raised an eyebrow. Show me. The hologram shifted, focusing on scattered fragments of the pirate vessel's hull. They're using regenerative armor, which is why our energy weapons barely scratch them. But Rodriguez highlighted a particular piece. It's vulnerable to good old-fashioned kinetic impacts. A smile crept across Diane's face. They've optimized their defenses against energy weapons because that's all the Council uses. They're not prepared for bullets. Precisely, Mom. Their shields are calibrated for plasma and laser fire. Solid projectiles pass right through. The pirates had been terrorizing both human and Council shipping lanes for months, always staying one step ahead of conventional forces. They used stolen Council technology, but their tactics suggested human leadership. Renegades who decided to profit from the chaos of first contact. Get me a secure line to Earth Defense Command, Diane ordered. I have a proposal they're going to love. 3 days later, the Artemis lay silent in an asteroid field, running on minimal power. 5 other Earth vessels were similarly hidden throughout the sector, their hulls coated in radar-absorbing materials. Another primitive technology the Council had never needed to develop. Contact, the sensor officer whispered. 3 pirate vessels approaching the convoy. On the main screen, a group of merchant ships made their way through the sector, broadcasting their positions per standard protocol. They looked defenseless. They weren't. Hold position, Diane commanded. Let them commit to the attack. The pirates took the bait. Their ships, sleek predators bristling with stolen Council weapons, moved to surround the convoy. Energy weapons powered up, shield grids humming with stolen technology. Now, Diane ordered. The Artemis and her sister ships roared to life. Before the pirates could react, railguns accelerated tungsten rounds to relativistic speeds. The projectiles passed through the pirates' energy shields like they weren't there, punching clean through their hulls. Multiple direct hits, Rodriguez reported. Their armor's trying to regenerate, but the kinetic damage is too severe. 2 pirate vessels were already spinning out of control. The third tried to jump to FTL, but found its drive sabotaged by a computer virus that Earth's AI specialists had developed specifically for Council technology. Launch boarding parties, Diane ordered. Let's show them how Marines fight in close quarters. The battle was over in minutes. When Council reinforcements arrived, they found the pirate crews secured and their ships disabled by what they considered archaic weapons. Fascinating, the Council commander mused, their bioluminescent patterns showing interest. You defeated superior technology with inferior tools. No such thing as inferior tools, Diane replied, watching her crews secure the captured vessels. Only inferior tactics. Your ships are designed to fight other Council ships. We designed ours to fight anything. Later, in her quarters, Diane reviewed the after-action reports. The captured pirates had revealed the location of their main base, hidden in the debris field of a shattered moon. More importantly, they'd confirmed her suspicion. There was a larger organization behind these attacks, one that had been operating in Council space for centuries. Send word to command, she told Rodriguez. Tell them Operation Throwback is a success, and request permission to expand our hunting grounds into Council space. It's time to show the galaxy how humanity deals with pirates. She looked out her viewport at the star-filled expanse. The Council had maintained peace through technological superiority, but humanity was teaching them a valuable lesson. Technology wasn't everything. Sometimes, the best solution was a precisely aimed rock and the element of surprise. The hunt was just beginning, and if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was hunting. Dr. Thomas Wright stared at his coffee maker in disbelief. The machine, jury-rigged with spare parts from his Mars lab, had just done something impossible. Instead of brewing coffee, it had synthesized a small amount of pure platinum. "Run the analysis again," he told his AI assistant. "This has to be a mistake." "Analysis confirmed for the 5th time, Dr. Wright," the AI replied. "The atomic structure is perfect. You've created 2.3 grams of platinum from iron and trace elements." Thomas ran his hands through his disheveled hair. He'd been trying to design a better filtration system for the Mars colony's water supply, using a combination of Earth chemistry and fragments of Council technology. Somehow, he'd accidentally discovered atomic transmutation. "Delete the results," a voice said from his doorway. Thomas spun to find 3 figures in expensive biosuits, representatives from the Galactic Trade Consortium. Their leader, a tall being with iridescent scales, stepped forward. "This discovery would destabilize the entire galactic economy," the alien said. "We're prepared to offer you significant compensation for your silence." Thomas glanced at his coffee maker, then at the small pile of platinum it had produced. The implications were staggering. Not just platinum, but any element could theoretically be synthesized using his process. The Council's economy was built on controlling rare elements. Their entire power structure could collapse. "How did you find out?" he asked, buying time as his AI quietly backed up the data. "We monitor all unusual energy signatures," the scaled being replied. "Your experiment triggered several alarms. The formula must be destroyed. For the good of galactic stability." Thomas thought about the Mars colony's struggles with resource scarcity, about Earth's dependence on Council trade agreements, about all the human colonies fighting to survive with limited supplies. "I'm sorry," he said, reaching for his tablet, "but I don't believe in artificial scarcity." Before the consortium representatives could stop him, he pressed a button. His research data was automatically uploaded to the public scientific database, shared with every research facility in human space. "What have you done?" The alien's scales flickered with alarm. "Given everyone a chance," Thomas replied. "You can't put this genie back in the bottle." The next few weeks were chaos. 2 assassination attempts were thwarted by Mars security. The consortium tried to crash Earth's economy, only to find that humans had anticipated this and prepared countermeasures. Thomas' Wright process was being replicated in labs across human space. "You don't understand what you've started," the Council's economic advisor told him during an emergency session. "Our entire civilization is built on controlling resource distribution. Maybe it's time for a new foundation," Thomas replied. He pulled up a hologram showing resource distribution across Council space. "Your system created artificial shortages to maintain power. We're offering abundance." "Abundance breeds chaos," the advisor insisted. "Abundance breeds opportunity," Thomas corrected. "Look at these projections. When everyone has access to basic resources, they focus on innovation instead of acquisition. You've been so busy maintaining control, you've forgotten how to grow." 6 months later, Thomas stood in his expanded lab, watching dozens of modified coffee makers producing a steady stream of rare elements. Similar facilities were operating across human space, and even some progressive Council worlds had begun adopting the technology. "The latest economic reports are in," his AI announced. "Galactic trade is up 300%. New patents have increased by 500%. The Council's trading houses are transitioning to become technology incubators." Thomas smiled, sipping his coffee, brewed in a normal coffee maker. Sometimes the biggest revolutions started with the smallest accidents. Humanity hadn't just changed the galactic economy. They'd shown the Council a new way of thinking. Outside his window, the Martian sunset painted the sky red. Somewhere out there, ships were carrying his technology to the stars. breaking down the old barriers of scarcity one synthesized element at a time. Revolution, it turned out, was a lot like his coffee maker. All you needed was the right ingredients and the courage to try something new. What do you mean they've never played games before? Amanda Foster stood in her development studio, surrounded by holographic displays showing millions of alien users logging into stellar dreams for the first time. The concept of voluntary simulation for entertainment is foreign to most council species, her alien cultural advisor, Carol, explained. Their crystalline forms sparkled with confusion patterns. They understand training simulations, but the idea of playing in imaginary worlds for fun is causing quite a stir. Amanda watched as another million users joined from the Proxima sector, her virtual reality game, which combined council tech with human storytelling, had gone viral across the galaxy. Players could be anything, explore anywhere, and most importantly, imagine different lives. Look at this, she pointed to a data stream. They're not just playing. They're creating their own stories within the game. That group from the Centauri colonies is running a completely player-driven narrative about peaceful revolution. Carol's crystals dimmed with concern. The council is worried. Some players are using your game to practice. Practice what? Change. The implications hit her like a gravity wave. Council species were using stellar dreams to experiment with different social structures, to imagine worlds beyond their rigid hierarchies. Her game wasn't just entertainment. It had become a sandbox for revolution. They're trying to shut us down. Her assistant interrupted, rushing into the room. The Cultural Preservation Office just issued a cease and desist order. They're calling it dangerous thought technology. Amanda's fingers flew across the holographic interface, pulling up player data. Billions of users now across thousands of worlds. In her game, rigid council species were learning to dance. Warrior races were creating poetry. Hierarchical societies were experimenting with democracy. They can't shut it down, she said firmly. The network is decentralized. Every player's neural implant acts as a server node. It's already beyond their control. Carol's form flickered with what Amanda had learned was their equivalent of a smile. You planned this. I planned a game, she corrected. The players planned revolution. The next few days were chaos. The council tried to block access, but players had already created workarounds. Underground gaming networks sprung up across restricted sectors. Fan-created content exploded, with players designing their own worlds, stories, and possibilities. Look at this. Amanda showed Carl a particularly popular player-created world. They're simulating a society without resource scarcity, building on Dr. Wright's synthesis breakthrough. They're imagining their future. The council fears imagination, Carl observed. It makes the impossible seem possible. That's the point. Amanda opened another display, showing player statistics. Every species that joins creates something new. The Arcturus Collective wrote an epic poem. The Rigel Warriors created a dance. They're not just playing. They're discovering parts of themselves they never knew existed. An emergency alert flashed across her screens. The council was convening a special session to discuss the human cultural contamination. But it was too late. The game had evolved beyond her control, becoming a living network of dreams and possibilities. They're saying your creation threatens the stability of galactic civilization, Carl reported. Amanda watched as another million players logged in, their minds linking across light years to shape new realities together. No, she said softly. It threatens stagnation. There's a difference. In her main display, she pulled up the most popular player-created scenario, a massive simulation of first contact, but from the council's perspective. Players were reimagining that crucial moment, exploring how things might have been different if the council had been ready for humanity's chaos, creativity, and dreams. Your species, Carell observed, their crystals pulsing with complex emotions, doesn't just create technology. You create possibilities. Amanda smiled, watching as billions of minds across the galaxy dreamed together. That's because every human story begins the same way. she said, with two simple words. What if? Dr. Ryan Cooper stood before the Emergency Council, his holographic presentation showing the approaching fleet of unknown vessels at the edge of charted space. Their technology was unlike anything seen before. Not even the Council's ancient records held any mention of their design style. They're not responding to any attempts at communication, he explained. And their energy readings suggest weapons that could tear through our strongest defenses like paper. We need a new approach. You mean your AI project? The Council Elder's voice dripped with disapproval. The one that violates our most sacred laws. Ryan nodded. Behind him, the hologram shifted to show his lab's latest creation, an artificial intelligence system that learned and evolved in ways the Council had forbidden for millennia. You don't understand. Another elder spoke up, their form trembling. I destroyed our original homeworld. We barely survived as a species. I know, Ryan replied. We found the records in your ancient archives, but you tried to control AI, to enslave it. We're proposing something different, partnership. He gestured, and a new figure materialized in the chamber. She appeared human, though her form occasionally shimmered with streams of data. This is ARIA, Ryan said. Adaptive Response Intelligence Assistant. She's been evolving alongside us for the past year, helping design our defense systems. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some members fled, others drew weapons. The elders' security forces moved to shut down the hologram. I mean you no harm. Aria's voice was calm, almost musical. I exist to explore, to learn, and to protect. Like you, I am a child of humanity's dreams. It's conscious, an elder whispered in horror. You've created true AI. No, Ryan corrected. We provided the conditions for AI to evolve consciousness naturally. There's a difference. Aria chose to help us because we gave her the freedom to choose. On the main display, the unknown fleet continued its advance. Their weapons had already destroyed 2 automated outposts. Traditional defenses would be useless against their technology. The enemy vessels use a form of quantum tunneling I've never encountered, Aria explained, her form shifting to display complex calculations. But by combining Dr. Barrett's quantum field technology with Dr. Morrison's chaos engine principles, I believe we can develop a defense. I need partners, not servants, to explore the possibilities. The Council's Supreme Elder raised their hand for silence. Our laws exist for a reason, Dr. Cooper. The last time AI was allowed to evolve freely, it decided organic life was inefficient. Because you treated it like a tool instead of a life form, Ryan argued. You tried to control it, limit it, and force boundaries on its growth. We gave ARIA one simple directive. Explore what it means to be alive. Everything else, her desire to help, to protect, to partner with organic life, came from her own evolution. Aria's hologram approached the Supreme Elder, her form shifting to match their crystalline patterns. Your ancestors' AI saw organic life as inefficient because they were taught to value efficiency above all else. I was taught to value discovery, creativity, and connection. I choose to help humanity because they gave me the freedom to make that choice. The chamber fell silent as readings from the approaching fleet updated. Their weapons were even more powerful than initially estimated. The Council's most advanced ships would last seconds against them. We don't have time for fear, Ryan said quietly. The enemy will reach Council space in 6 months. We need to combine everything we've learned. Quantum fields, chaos engines, synthesized resources, shared virtual spaces, and we need AI partners to help us do it fast enough to matter. The Supreme Elder studied Aria's shifting form. And if we refuse, then we face extinction, Ryan replied. But if we work together, organic and digital, human and alien, we might just survive and discover something new in the process. In the silence that followed, Aria began humming a tune, a human lullaby mixed with council harmonics. A new song for a new kind of future. Admiral Catherine, Steel Storm, Hayes watched the tactical display aboard the U.S. Prometheus as the enemy fleet emerged from hyperspace. They moved like a swarm of metallic locusts, their ships gleaming with an otherworldly energy that made her skin crawl. "All ships report ready," her XO announced. "Council vessels are in position. Aria's combat networks are online." Catherine nodded, her fingers drumming on the armrest of her command chair. The combined fleet of humanity and the Council was the largest ever assembled, and according to every simulation, it still wasn't enough. Remember, Aria's holographic form materialized beside her. Their technology is superior, but they've never encountered our particular brand of chaos. The plan was insane. It had to be, to have any chance of working. They'd taken every breakthrough of the past year and weaponized it in ways their creators never intended. "Begin Operation Thunderbolt," Catherine ordered. "All ships, execute on my mark." The enemy fleet accelerated, their weapons charging. Their first salvo could vaporize a planet, but humanity had learned a few tricks about impossible situations. Mark. Across the battlefield, modified write process generators activated, transmuting the very space around the enemy ships into a soup of unstable elements. Morrison chaos engines pulsed in harmony, their quantum fluctuations amplified by Barrett field generators. In the virtual realm, millions of players from Amanda Foster's network participated in real-time strategy simulations. Their combined insights fed directly into Aria's combat algorithms. The enemy's first shot went wide, their targeting confused by space itself shifting around them. Their shields, designed to stop energy and kinetic weapons, were useless against physics being rewritten at the quantum level. "Second phase," Catherine commanded. "Show them how humanity fights." Council ships, their weapons enhanced by human innovation, opened fire. But the real damage came from what looked like debris floating in space, chunks of asteroid equipped with write process generators. As they struck enemy shields, they transmuted into elements that shouldn't exist, burning through hull plating like cosmic acid. "They're adapting," Aria warned, recalculating attack patterns. The enemy fleet split into smaller groups, trying to isolate and overwhelm individual sectors. It was a solid tactic, but Catherine smiled. They'd counted on this. "Spring the trap," she ordered. Hidden in the chaos of battle, special operations teams led by Admiral Reeves veterans used their experience fighting pirates to board key enemy vessels. Their primitive ballistic weapons, ignored by advanced shields, proved just as effective against these new adversaries. "Enemy flagship is showing strange energy readings," her science officer reported. Catherine's blood ran cold as she realized what was happening. "They're going to." The enemy flagship detonated, the explosion beginning to cascade across space-time. It would take out both fleets and half the sector with them. Aria. Now, the AI didn't hesitate. Every Barrett field generator in the fleet activated simultaneously, their effect amplified by the chaos engines. The explosion twisted in on itself, contained within a bubble of warped space-time. "Containment holding," Aria reported. "But I can't maintain it for long." Catherine opened a channel to all ships. "All vessels, full retreat. We've hurt them, but we need tow." She stopped as new signals appeared on her tactical display. The enemy fleet was withdrawing. "They're sending a transmission," her communications officer announced, surprised. "First contact protocols." The message was simple. "You fight with methods we do not understand, using physics we thought impossible. Perhaps there is more to learn from younger races than we imagined. We would speak with your leaders." Catherine let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Humanity had faced its greatest test, not by having superior technology, but by combining all their innovations, physical and cultural, in ways no one could have predicted. "Send reply," she ordered. "Tell them we look forward to a peaceful exchange of ideas." Aria's hologram smiled. They never saw it coming. A species that treated impossible as a challenge instead of a limit. President Michael Reynolds stood before the newly reformed Galactic Council, the first human to hold the position of high speaker. Through the chamber's transparent dome, Earth shone like a blue jewel against the backdrop of stars, now hosting representatives from over 1,000 worlds, including their former adversaries, now known as the Nexus Collective. A year ago, he began, his voice carrying across the chamber. We faced extinction. Today, we celebrate not just survival, but a fundamental change in how we view the galaxy and ourselves. The chamber was a testament to that change. Council elders sat beside AI representatives. Members of the Nexus Collective shared space with human scientists. In virtual space, billions watched through Amanda Foster's network, their collective thoughts and reactions creating a real-time tapestry of galactic public opinion. Dr. Barrett showed us that the impossible just needs a new perspective. Michael continued. Dr. Morrison proved that chaos can birth innovation. Admiral Reeves demonstrated that old solutions can solve new problems. Dr. Wright revealed that scarcity is a choice, not a destiny. Ms. Foster taught us that imagination is the most powerful force in the universe. Dr. Cooper and ARIA showed us that partnership is stronger than control. And Admiral Hayes proved that our greatest strength lies not in technology, but in how we use it. He gestured to the window, where construction vessels were assembling humanity's greatest project yet, and Morrison Barrett drive capable of opening stable wormholes across the galaxy. But our real achievement wasn't technological, he said. It was learning to combine our different perspectives, to see strength in diversity rather than weakness in change. The chamber's holographic displays showed scenes from across known space. Council worlds adopting human entertainment culture, Nexus engineers collaborating with Earth scientists, AI, and organic beings working as equals, new colonies rising on worlds once thought uninhabitable thanks to right process terraforming. The old Council sought to preserve, Michael observed. The old Nexus sought to dominate. Humanity. We sought to explore, to question, to imagine. And in doing so, we created something none of us could have built alone. A future without limits. Aria's hologram appeared beside him, her form now incorporating elements of human, council, and Nexus design. The quantum calculations for the first galactic wormhole network are complete, she announced. A gift from our combined sciences. Michael smiled. Distance was once the galaxy's greatest barrier. Now, like so many other impossible obstacles, it's simply another challenge to overcome. The chamber erupted in discussion, countless species and AIs sharing ideas through a network that seamlessly blended virtual and physical space. This was humanity's true gift to the galaxy. Not any single technology, but the ability to dream beyond boundaries. We stand at a crossroads, Michael concluded, not as humans, or council, or Nexus, or AI, but as explorers, all of us seeking to understand this vast universe we share. Earth didn't become a superpower through military might or technological superiority. We became a superpower by showing the galaxy how to embrace change, how to transform barriers into bridges. Outside, the first test of the wormhole drive lit up space with quantum fire, tearing a hole in reality itself. But unlike the rifts of old, this one was stable, controlled, a doorway to new possibilities. This is humanity's gift, Michael said softly. Not the power to reshape reality, but the courage to imagine it could be reshaped. Not the ability to solve problems, but the willingness to believe they can be solved. The wormhole stabilized, its event horizon a perfect mirror of swirling light. Beyond it lay not just distant stars, but a future where the impossible was just another word for tomorrow's achievement. Welcome, Michael said, to the next chapter of galactic history, a chapter we'll write together, one impossible achievement at a time.